Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Saira Mujtaba with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with CEOs of leading global oil and gas companies this evening. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to meet their US counterparts in New Delhi today. COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 90.23%. BJP wins 5 constituencies in LA-HDC Leh General Council elections. Campaigning for the first phase of assembly elections for 71 seats in Bihar ends this evening. And in IPL cricket, Kolkata Knight Riders will lock horns with Kings 11 Punjab at Sharjah today. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact virtually with the CEOs of leading global oil and gas companies in the annual event organized by Niti Aayog and Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas today. India is an important player in the global oil and gas sector, being the 3rd largest consumer of crude oil and the 4th largest LNG importer. Realizing the need for India to graduate from a passive consumer to an active and vocal stakeholder in the global oil and gas value chain, Niti Aayog initiated the first roundtable of global oil and gas CEOs with the Prime Minister in 2016. A report.
The growth of the event was apparent as around 40 to 50 global CEOs and key stakeholders who shape the global oil and gas sector assembled every subsequent year to interact and discuss the issues and opportunities with the Prime Minister. The impact of the annual global CEOs interaction can be seen in the gravity of discussion, quality of suggestions, and the seriousness with which they are acted open. The objective behind the meeting is to deliver a global platform to understand best practices, discuss reforms, and inform strategies for accelerating investment into Indian oil and gas value chain. The event also grows in stature with the rise of India, the world's 3rd largest energy consumer, which is likely to see over $300 billion investment by 2030 in the oil and gas sector to meet rising demand. Prior to the interaction, the Prime Minister will inaugurate the India Energy Forum by CERAWeek, which is now in its 4th year. Anupam Mish, AR News, Delhi.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will meet their US counterparts Mark Esper and Mike Pompeo today in New Delhi ahead of the 2+2 ministerial meeting tomorrow. The US Foreign Minister and Defence Minister are on a 2-day scheduled visit to India and will be arriving this afternoon. Mr. Singh and Dr. Jaishankar will also host a dinner for the visiting dignitaries. More details from our correspondent.
The 3rd annual India-US 2+2 ministerial dialogue scheduled for tomorrow will focus on advancing the Indo-US comprehensive global strategic partnership and further strengthening of cooperation to promote stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region and the world. As the world's oldest and largest democracies, the 2 countries nourish deep-rooted democratic traditions and bond. The growth in partnership reflects deepening strategic convergence on a host of issues including energy, aviation, science, space, infrastructure and health, among others. 3rd ministerial dialogue in just over 2 years span demonstrates high-level commitment by both the countries towards the shared diplomatic and security objectives. Secretary Pompeo and Mark Esper will also meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi tomorrow afternoon after the 2+2 meeting. The leaders will also be making a visit to the War Memorial in the national capital tomorrow morning for a wreath-laying ceremony. Anand Chaturvedi, AIR News, Delhi.
India has achieved a significant milestone in its fight against COVID as the national recovery rate has reached 90.23%. With overall recovery of over 71,37,000 patients so far, the recovered cases in the country stand at nearly 11 times more than the active cases. Our correspondent reports nearly 60,000 patients have recovered in the last 24 hours, whereas the new confirmed cases reported in the same time stood at nearly 45,000.
Health Ministry said that enhanced countrywide medical infrastructure, implementation of the Central Standard Treatment Protocol by the states and union territories, and total dedication and commitment of doctors, paramedics, and frontline workers have led to a persistent increase in the number of total recoveries in the country. It said this has also led to a dip in the fatality rate, which stands at 1.50%. The Health Ministry informed that 480 case fatalities were reported in the past 24 hours, of which nearly 80% are concentrated in 10 states and union territories. With large number of COVID patients recovering every day along with a steadily falling and sustained low mortality rate, India's trend of registering decreasing active case continues. The active case loads of the country also keeps decreasing and stands presently below 8.5%. The total positive cases in the country today is 6,53,717, which comprises merely 8.26% of the total reported cases. With Anand Chaturvedi, Bhupendra Singh, AR News, Delhi.
In Telangana, 582 new cases of COVID-19 were reported in the past 24 hours. With this, the total COVID cases in the state went up to 231,834. The state conducted over 14,000 tests yesterday. The recovery rate marginally improved to 91.4%, with 1,432 more people recovering yesterday. This took the number of recovered people so far in the state to 211,912. In Madhya Pradesh, the spread of COVID-19 is gradually decreasing. The number of active cases is 11,237 and the number of recoveries has exceeded 1,53,000.
In Gujarat, the number of new COVID cases has dropped below the 1,000 mark for the first time in 100 days. According to the State Health Department, 919 new cases have been recorded during the past 24 hours. AIR Ahmedabad correspondent reports that the number of deaths on a daily basis also fell significantly.
Number of new cases is constantly falling in Gujarat. Now the number of new cases fell below the 1,000 mark, the first time during the last 100 days. Recovery rate has gone up to 89.46%. With more and more patients recovering from COVID-19 in the state, the number of active cases also started falling. At present, the state has 13,936 active cases. Most of them are in stable condition. Meanwhile, the famous Akshardham temple in Gandhinagar has been reopened from today after remaining closed since the outbreak of coronavirus. Yogesh Pandya, AR News, Ahmedabad.
In Odisha, 2,071 patients have recovered from COVID-19 today, taking the total recovery to 2,64,102, with 1,480 fresh infections, while the cumulative total of COVID-19 infection in the state so far has increased to 2,82,695. The active caseload has come down to 17,281. A report.
Even as the dreaded virus keeps tumbling down in the state, with daily caseload diving down below 1,500 for the first time in many days, the state government is not ready yet to fully loosen the strain. While the ongoing Dussehra festivities have been significantly calibrated to comply with the COVID-19 protocol, religious places across the state are still kept out of bounds for the devil. Educational institutions to continue to be on the digital modes. With the wintry days ahead, the state government is soliciting popular cooperation in tracking the virus down, while still testing around 40 to 50,000 samples per day to keep a visual on the viral trajectory in the state. Girish Chandra Das, Bhubaneswar.
In Assam, the recovery rate of COVID-19 has reached around 91%. Health Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma in a tweet informed that 204 positive cases were reported during the last 24 hours. A total of 8,753 tests are conducted in that period, and the positivity rate is 2.33%. Nearly 3,000 persons have recovered in the last 24 hours, and there are 17,510 active cases in the state. Meanwhile, immersion of Durga idols has begun in the state following all COVID protocols.
Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar has tested positive for COVID-19. In a tweet, Mr. Pawar said that his COVID-19 test has come out positive. However, he said that he is in good health. He further said that on the advice of his doctors, he has been admitted to the Breach Candy Hospital in South Mumbai. Eminent cricket player Sachin Tendulkar has urged people to follow all COVID-related guidelines to stay safe.
ये समय है कि हम हमारे जिंदगी में कुछ बदलाव भी लाए सेफ नॉर्मल के तरीकों से। हम सभी को खुद की और अपने परिवार की सुरक्षा के लिए कुछ सरल बातों का ख्याल रखना चाहिए। हमें अपने हाथ साबुन लगाने के बाद 20 सेकंड तक लगातार मलते रहने चाहिए। अगर साबुन और पानी ना हो तो हैंड सैनिटाइजर का इस्तेमाल करें और पूरे हाथ पर तब तक मलते रहे जब तक वो सूख न जाए। मास्क ये बहुत ही जरूरी है।
The News Services Division of All India Radio in its bilingual live phone-in program tonight will bring you a special discussion on COVID-19. Dr. Tanuja Nesari, Director, All India Institute of Ayurveda, will participate in the discussion. Listeners can ask questions to the expert on toll-free telephone number 1-800-115767. You can also ask questions on telephone number 011-2331-4444 and post queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by hashtag AskAIR. This can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. This program will also be available on our website newsonair.com and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You can also follow us on the News on AIR app for updates.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with CEOs of leading global oil and gas companies this evening. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to meet their US counterparts in New Delhi today. COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 90.23%. BJP wins 8 constituencies in LAHDC Leh General Council elections. Campaigning for the first phase of assembly elections for 71 seats in Bihar ends this evening. And in IPL cricket, Kolkata Knight Riders will lock horns with Kings 11 Punjab at Sharjah today. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे।
In Bihar, campaigning for the first phase of assembly elections in 71 assembly constituencies spread over 16 districts will come to an end this evening. Polling will be held on Wednesday. Several constituencies that go to polls in this phase are Naxal violence-affected areas and sensitive from the security point of view. In the first phase, a total of 1,066 candidates are in the fray and over 2.14 crore eligible voters will exercise their franchise. BJP is contesting from 29 seats, JDU from 35 and Hindustani Awam Morcha from 6 assembly seats. The Vikassheel Insan Party has fielded 1 candidate. The Grand Alliance's RJD is contesting from 42 seats, while Congress has fielded 21 candidates. The CPI-ML has 8 candidates in the fray. The LJP has decided to support BJP candidates on those seats where LJP is not contesting. Political fortunes of 8 cabinet ministers Prem Kumar, Ram Narayan Mandal, Jay Kumar Singh, Krishnanandan Verma, Shailesh Kumar, Santosh Nirala, Vijay Kumar Sinha and Brij Kishore Bind will be decided in this phase. Former Chief Minister Jitan Ram Manjhi is contesting from Imamganj Assembly constituency as NDA candidate. The RJD has pitted former Speaker of Bihar Legislative Assembly Uday Narayan Chaudhary against Mr. Manjhi. On the last day of campaigning, stalwarts and star campaigners are making a last-ditch effort to woo the voters. A report.
Leaders of political parties are mainly focused on the issue of employment and development during their campaigning. BJP President JP Nadda will address 2 election rallies in Aurangabad and Purnia. Senior stars like Shatrughan Sinha, Bhojpuri film actors Manoj Tiwari, Ravi Kishan and Dinesh Lal Yadav Nirahua will also hold road shows and election rallies. Vikassheel Insan Party Chief Mukesh Sahni addressed joint public meetings with BJP leaders. JDU General Secretary
RCP Singh campaigned in Bard for NDA candidate. Addressing rallies in Pirpanti and Gopalpur in Bhagalpur, RJD leader Tejaswi Prasad Yadav appealed to people to vote for those who can take care of their problems. Leaders of LJP, RLSP, BSP and other left parties also addressed rallies in support of their party candidates. Dharmendra Kumar Rai, AIR News, Patna.
In Leh, in Ladakh, Bharatiya Janata Party swept Nubra region in the 6th LAHDC Leh General Council elections. Total 8 seats have been won by the BJP out of 9 results declared so far, from total 26 seats that went to polls on the 23rd of October. More from our correspondent.
In 6th LHDC Leh General Council elections, BJP is leading in the results declared so far. BJP is declared winners in Diskit, Turtuk, Tegas, Panamik and Hundar constituencies in Nubra region. Apart from these, BJP is also claimed Tangsek, Korjok and Martalang seats and leading in Tiksai. Independent candidate Konchok Sanjan declared winner in Trishul constituency, and while another independent is also leading in Nyuma. Congress leading in Igu, Kungiam and Sakti constituencies. Final results of 26 constituencies are expected before this evening. Ramesh Chandra for All India Radio News, Leh.
Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar has condemned the statement of Mehbooba Mufti on the national flag, saying that insult of the tricolour is absolutely unacceptable. In a tweet today, Mr. Javadekar said the tricolour is the pride and identity of India. In her recent remark, PDP Chief and former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mehbooba Mufti, said she will hoist the national flag after the flag of Jammu and Kashmir is restored.
Civil Aviation Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has said that Phase 7 of Vande Bharat mission will begin from Thursday, the 29th of October. In a tweet today, Mr. Puri said that there will be more destinations, flights and bubble arrangements. He said international travel of more than 2.7 million people has been facilitated till now. The minister said yesterday 4,322 people arrived in the country from abroad. A special CBI court today sentenced former Union Minister Dilip Ray to 3 years imprisonment in a coal scam case pertaining to the alleged irregularities in allocation of a Jharkhand coal block in 1999. Special Judge Bharat Parashar also awarded a 3-year jail term each to 2 senior officials of the Ministry of Coal at that time, Pradeep Kumar Banerjee and Nityanand Gautam, and Castron Technologies Limited or CTS Director Mahendra Kumar Agarwalla. The court also imposed a fine of 10 lakh rupees each on them. The court has further imposed a fine of 60 lakh rupees on CTL. In Kerala, amid COVID crisis, thousands of children were initiated into the world of knowledge today as part of the tradition of Vidyarambam. A report.
Keralites across globe celebrates Vijayadashami as the Vidyarambam Day, the auspicious day for beginning learning in any field. Following strict COVID protocol, Vidyarambam took place in the state today morning. People mostly performed the ceremony in home due to pandemic. Temples and cultural centers witnessed very less number of devotees. Compared to previous years, the restrictions were made stricter in Panachikad Dakshina Mugambika temple this year. Pre-booking facility has been arranged to avoid crowd. Vidyarambam was not conducted in the famous Tunjan Paramba this time, as only prayers and rituals were allowed. Mayusha for AR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
The nation celebrates the 145th birth anniversary of India's Iron Man Sardar Patel on the 31st of October. The day is also earmarked as Rashtriya Ekta Divas across the country. In the run-up to the event, All India Radio News brings to you select excerpts from the speeches of the Iron Man of India from its archives.
हमारा कर्तव्य ये है कि हमें निश्चय कर लेना चाहिए कि हमें हिंदुस्तान में जितने लोग हैं सबको हिल-मिल के भाई भाई की तरह के रहना है। हिंदू हो, मुसलमान हो, सिख हो, पारसी हो, ईसाई हो, सबको यही समझना चाहिए कि ये हमारा मुल्क है।
Even as the centre is keen on promoting water transport to propel economic growth, residents of Thane district in Maharashtra have started using water transport to save their extra penny and, more importantly, travelling time. The commuters who are using this water transport feel that if this particular service is regularized, it will surely benefit more and more people in the days to come. More details from our Mumbai correspondent.
According to the state government's directives, only those individuals who fall in essential services category have been allowed to commute through the suburban local trains in Mumbai region. In case of people who do not come under essential services, they have to hard scrabble to reach their workplace even at their nearest destination, as they are not allowed to board local trains. Travelling via road is not as easy as it may appear due to ever-increasing traffic, which takes a heavy toll on commuting. In such a situation, people who work at Thane and Bhivandi have decided to make use of water transport to reach their workplace on time. Taking the boat ride from Mothagaon Reti Bandar from Dombivli, these commuters reach the Velhe Mankoli Reti Bandar in Thane in 10 to 15 minutes, saving their precious 2 hours by spending just 10 to 20 rupees. The commuters feel that if the boat ride is regularized by the government in other parts of Mumbai, then it will definitely help people if such a situation arises. Kunal Shinde, AIR News, Mumbai.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres welcomed the joint statement yesterday by the United States, Armenia and Azerbaijan, announcing that a previously reached humanitarian ceasefire agreement will come into effect from today. This was conveyed by spokesperson of UN Secretary Stefan Dujarric in a statement in New York. Armenia and Azerbaijan have been at loggerheads over the mountainous region of Nagorno-Karabakh since 1988. Peace talks have been held since 1994 when a ceasefire was reached, but there have been sporadic minor clashes. A new round of armed conflict broke out along the contact line on September the 27th.
Northwest China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region has reported 137 more asymptomatic coronavirus cases in Kashgar Prefecture yesterday, after one asymptomatic case was found in the prefecture's Shufu County on Saturday. An official statement from Xinjiang Regional Health Authority said that all the new cases are linked to family members of the asymptomatic cases detected on Saturday. However, the source of infection of the first case is still unknown, triggering the fear of a community spread. The new outbreak comes 2 months after Xinjiang curbed a cluster of infections in regional capital Urumqi in earlier August. Kashgar is running citywide tests and is hoping to test the entire city population of 4.7 million by Tuesday. A second wave of COVID-19 has returned to Europe, forcing many countries to reimpose curfews, partial lockdowns and other restrictions. Countries across Europe are implementing new measures to combat the spread of COVID-19 as infections surge and new cases hit record high in the European Union. Polish authorities ordered schools and restaurants to be closed for 2 weeks, while France extended its curfew to affect over 2/3 of its population. France has reported a record number of daily infections. German capital implemented new mask-wearing requirements on busy streets. In Denmark, government has announced a ban on evening alcohol sales and tightened the cap on public gatherings. The government has also reduced the number of people allowed to attend the gatherings from 50 to 10. After the Baltic states of Latvia and Lithuania registered record infection tallies, the two countries implemented new measures to combat the virus. These include limits on the number of participants allowed at events and new mask requirements. Belgium ordered pubs and restaurants to close this week along with a nighttime curfew and strict limits on gatherings. The country also tightened curbs on social contacts by banning fans from sports matches and limiting numbers in cultural spaces. Spain also announced emergency measures including curfew. Under the emergency measures, local authorities can also ban travel between regions. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said he will ask Parliament to extend the new rules for 6 months. In Italy, new restrictions were also announced yesterday. The government said the steady rise in cases is causing a huge strain on the country's health services. The Bangladesh government has decided that no service will be provided to people who don't wear a mask. The cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina decided that no one will be allowed to enter offices without a mask. It decided that all offices must install notice boards saying that no mask, no service in order to control the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Briefing the media after the cabinet meeting in Dhaka, The Cabinet Secretary Khandkhar Anwarul Islam said, people at all public and private offices, social institutions, haat bazaars, shopping malls, other establishments, educational institutions, mosques or other places of worship throughout the country must use masks in view of the ongoing pandemic.
The campaign for U.S. presidential elections has entered its final phase. President Trump said there has been progress in combating the coronavirus. On the other hand, Joe Biden alleged that the Trump administration was surrendering to the pandemic. COVID-19 has claimed over 225,000 lives in the United States so far. President Trump will be visiting the crucial battleground states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Arizona and Nevada in the coming days. Biden will be in his home state, Delaware, today. He is scheduled to travel to Georgia, Atlanta and Warm Springs on Tuesday. In IPL cricket today, Kolkata Knight Riders will lock horns with Kings 11 Punjab at Sharjah to decide the fourth position in the points table for the playoffs. Mumbai Indians, Delhi Capitals, Royal Challengers Bangalore have already qualified with 14 points each for the playoffs. Yesterday, Rajasthan Royals' 8-wicket win over defending champions Mumbai Indians at Dubai has shattered Chennai Super Kings' hopes of sealing a late playoff berth. This is the first time in the history of IPL that three-time champions Chennai failed to qualify for the playoffs.
The air quality in Delhi was recorded in the very poor category today. According to Air Quality Monitor, SAFAR, the national capital recorded an air quality index of 343 this morning, which falls under very poor category. SAFAR said the surface winds are calm during the morning hours, but likely to improve during daytime, leading to better ventilation. It has suggested people to avoid all physical activity outdoors. It also suggested asthmatic people to keep relief medicine handy. And now let's take a look at the weather update for the day. The national capital, Delhi, will see a partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature was 14 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 34 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will see a partly cloudy sky as well. Minimum temperature was 27 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 33 degrees Celsius. Chennai will see a generally cloudy sky. Minimum temperature was 25 degrees Celsius while maximum will be 33 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have a partly cloudy sky as well. Minimum temperature was 25 degrees Celsius while maximum will be 32 degrees Celsius. Jammu will see a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 14 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 31 degrees Celsius. Srinagar will see a mainly clear sky as well. Temperature will oscillate between 1 and 20 degrees Celsius. Leh in Ladakh will have a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was -1 degree Celsius and maximum will be around 14 degrees Celsius. In Muzaffarabad, the temperature will hover between 15 and 31 degrees Celsius. The town will see a mainly clear sky today. Gilgit will see a mainly clear sky as well. The minimum temperature was 6 degrees Celsius and maximum is expected to be 20 degrees Celsius. Hyderabad will see a partly cloudy sky with haze. The minimum temperature was 20 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 32 degrees Celsius. Ahmedabad will see a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 24 degrees Celsius and maximum will be 35 degrees Celsius. And Guwahati will see fog or mist in early morning. The minimum temperature in the city was 23 degrees Celsius while maximum will be 30 degrees Celsius.
Some more news in Chhattisgarh. 32 Maoists have surrendered at Dantewada in Bastar division. 6 of them were carrying rewards on their heads. Dantewada SP Abhishek Pallava said the surrendered Maoists were influenced by the Lon Varatu campaign being carried out by the police in the district. Lon Varatu means return home in local tribal dialect Gondi. Under this campaign, the police have earmarked about 50 hypersensitive Maoist affected villages where pamphlets have been put up with an appeal to surrender. The SP said so far 150 Maoists have surrendered under Lon Varatu campaign. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with CEOs of leading global oil and gas companies this evening. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to meet their US counterparts in New Delhi today. COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 90.23%. BJP wins 8 constituencies in LAHDC Leh General Council elections. Campaigning for the first phase of assembly elections for 71 seats in Bihar ends this evening. And in IPL cricket, Kolkata Knight Riders will lock horns with Kings 11 Punjab at Sharjah today. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the Midday News.